Week 4 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few defense DST units I would start this week. The first one, the Houston Texans. Texans so far this season, they've been a middle-of-the-pack defense. But Week 4, a great matchup versus the Tennessee Titans, where obviously this Titan team, they can't do much offensively and give up the fifth most fantasy points to DSTs on the season. So division matchup this week for Houston. They're 0-3 on the season, off to a horrible start. And the defense, I've thought, has played well this season, but the offense has had problems scoring the football and being consistent. Week 1 at the Rams, 14 points allowed, 3 sacks, a fumble recovery. Week 2 versus Tampa Bay, 20 points allowed, 4 sacks, a block kick. And Week 3 at Jacksonville, 17 points allowed, 2 sacks, an interception in that one. So like I said, it's a 1-week option. Houston has a great matchup, like I said. Then Week 5 at Baltimore and the bye in Week 6. So here in Week 4, they're usable for this week, obviously, is the Houston Texans. And I think they'll go out there, get their first win of the victory, and Cam Ward, he's looked decent at times, but still a rookie going through the growing pains, has to learn a lot, and I think this Texan DST could go out there and take advantage of Ward this week. Next DST is the Buffalo Bills, so Buffalo, a good matchup this week. Last week they had a decent matchup on paper, but didn't do anything on Thursday night versus Miami Dolphins. 21 points allowed and an interception. Great matchup, like I said, versus New Orleans Saints. An offense that struggled, then they got the doors blown off in last week's ball game, 44-13 at the Seattle Seahawks. And right now, I think this Buffalo team, they got to get some of their players back as well, has been a problem. Matt Milano, he missed last week's ball game. Obviously, one of the better defensive guys on their roster. And also, Joey Bosa, he's still not up to snuff with the playbook and 100% situational type of pass rusher. But like I said, with a great matchup this week versus New Orleans Saints and home once again Buffalo, I think they go out there with the 10 days rest playing Thursday night in Week 3 and have a game this week. Next DSTs, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers have a great matchup as well at the New York Giants this week here. And the Chargers, surprisingly, they were out there in 51% of fantasy leagues before entering waivers. And obviously with waivers here tonight, they're going to be a hot pickup off the waiver wires. Week 1 versus Kansas City, 21 points allowed, 2 sacks. Week 2 with the Raiders on that Monday night game, 9 points allowed, 3 sacks, 3 interceptions. Week 3 versus the Broncos, 20 points allowed, 2 sacks. So this week, a great matchup with the Giants. Giants, 2 out of 3 weeks, they haven't done anything offensively. I know Week 2, they had an offensive explosion at the Dallas Cowboys, putting up 37 points. But the Cowboys can't stop anyone. And Russell Wilson, he's a quarterback as well that really can't get anything going. If you get pressure on him, it's not like Russ from his Seattle Seahawks days where he's going to be finding ways to get out of sacks and break tackles and pressure. So if it's Russ in there, quarterback here, even if they go to the rookie Jackson Dart, is this New York Giant team. Regardless, I think this Los Angeles Charger team goes out there, gets pressure on the quarterback early and often. Their defense has played well, and we've seen it so far in the early going. Next DSTs, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this game in Dublin, obviously overseas ball game. But Pittsburgh, we know on paper this is one of the better defenses in the league. But I know it hasn't always translated to the field so far this season. Week 1 at the Jets, it was a high-scoring track meet. 32 points allowed, a sack, a fumble recovery. Week 2 versus Seattle, 31 points allowed, 2 sacks, 2 INTs. And then Week 3 in New England, it was a nice game for this defense. 14 points allowed, 5 sacks, an interception, and a monster fork fumble recovery type of game. So this week, Minnesota gives up the most fantasy points to DSTs on the season, believe it or not. Carson Wentz in there, quarterback, even though last week he played good. But anytime you're up 3 touchdowns early, easy to go out there and have no pressure and play the quarterback positions at times. So this week, I think this defense will get to Wentz a couple times. We know Wentz has been a turnover machine as well throughout his NFL career. And when you got guys like TJ Watt, obviously Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, and Hayward on this defense, this is a defense that's going to go out there and create havoc. And this week in the overseas game, I think they go out there and show out with a big performance in the final DST. Denver Broncos. So Denver, we thought coming into the year they'd be one of the better units in all fantasy football, but obviously that hasn't been the case. So Week 1 versus Tennessee, great matchup it was. 12 points allowed, 6 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. Week 2 at the Colts, 29 points allowed, a sack. And Week 3 at the Chargers, 23 points allowed. They did have 5 sacks in that game, an interception, a fumble recovery. So a decent outing in last week. And this week a good matchup versus Cincinnati, where we just saw they turned the football all over the field. Gave up 2 defensive touchdowns with Jake Browning in their quarterback. I'm not expecting Cincinnati to turn the football over that much. And Denver, We know they got a lot of talented players on defense, but so far this season, they've been getting gashed on the ground. The first 3 weeks of the season is Denver, so they got to go back to basics, and Chase Brown's been struggling, so if they could take Chase Brown out of the equation here, I think is Denver. And we know Patrick Surtain, one of the best corners in the league, can limit Jamar Chase from going bananas in this ball game. I think those factors add up and obviously could help this Bronco DST, and right now, like I said, they've been struggling as Denver, but this week in the matchup versus Cincinnati, after what we just saw happen in week 3 where their offense turned it over a whole lot and gave up a lot of fantasy points to Minnesota, Denver definitely a start this week, so that's a few defense DST units I would start for week 4 of the fantasy football season.